Welcome to Winnipeg Direct, the show dedicated to informing our city about big issues, current events, and today's sports. We'll be diving into the NHL talk here on Shaw. And joining our discussion is City Councilor Gord Steeves. Thanks again for being here. Miles Jones from Shaw and the CJOB Friday Entertainment Panel. And of course, diehard Winnipeg Jets fan, all-around sports fan, the sports doctor, Dave Patricia. Nice to have you here as well. Now, the hockey scene could change at a minute. We all know that. But right now, we've got some stuff to discuss. Now, Gord, April 28, 1996. Winnipeg Jets had their last game ever as a prominent member of the city. How did you feel?
Oh, broke my heart. It was terrible. I was apoplectic, grew up listening to the team and on the radio in the bedroom, in the bunk beds with my brother, the whole 9 yards. I was emotionally attached to that team, and it was a formative time in my life. I've never recovered.
No,
never recovered.
You've done well for yourself.
Thanks.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Dave, yourself?
It was a Sunday afternoon. It was a 4-1 loss to Detroit, and guys took that last final skate around the ice surface, and it was absolutely heartbreaking at the time. I mean, in time heals all wounds, and we've had the Moose to replace some good memories in there, but I still remember the great days, the World Hockey Association days, the 3 Avco Cups, and in that small, more quaint Winnipeg arena at the time, and only seated just over 10,000 people, and those were the good times. We went through some difficult times with the Jets in terms of seasons with only 9 wins and never been able to beat Edmonton or Calgary to get out of our division to go on to the playoffs, and years of, games against Hartford in February with only 9,000 people in the building, but we still went, and we still went to the pocket, and we bought tickets.
Well, Miles, before we dig into the Thrashers talk, let's talk Coyotes. Now, they say they were coming, they weren't coming, and we know now they're not coming, but they always put at the end of it, they're not coming this year. No matter what you hear, whether you read it in the paper, on TV, they're not coming this year. Do you think it's totally dead?
Oh yeah, Phoenix is dead. Glendale is dead. I mean, it's interesting to me to think that was probably the best possibility. I think we'd all agree to that. And then the Atlanta situation's obviously blossomed, and it looks like, hopefully, and fingers crossed, that'll be with the team that we end up with. I mean, at the end of the day, Phoenix, any place that, a city that needs them as much as Glendale seem to need them and willing to pay as much as Glendale are willing to pay for those losses, which amazes me, but again, that's not our choice, and that's their choice, and they're doing it, so good for them, good for Glendale, and hopefully good for us on the case of the Atlanta Thrashers.
Well, Gord, they're not making any money. Why are they doing this?
I tell you, it is, as a city councilor, I was mortified. Forget the hockey, forget all that stuff. Just, it is the proportional equivalent of the City of Winnipeg Council sitting down and saying, we are going to give $90 million a year to support this hockey team. That is a 20% tax increase on every house in this city. 1980, Atlanta, Georgia lost the Flames to Calgary, Dave. We all know that. Now they're going to lose the Thrashers. What is it with hockey down there in Georgia? And maybe the southern states. What's going on?
I have more ice in my drink than should be in the rink there, because who wants to go to 95 degrees outside and watch hockey? Really, they don't grow up with hockey. In fact, even the NFL seems to struggle in Atlanta in terms of attracting fans because of the great college component of the sports around there. So Atlanta just doesn't work. And there's a lot of cities like that. I was surprised to see this year when Nashville in the playoffs, and looked at the enthusiasm of the crowd, and I thought to myself, Nashville's going to succeed. I remember that used to be on the hot seat years ago. Why is hockey in Nashville? And we've seen the turnaround now of the Tampa Bay Lightning and them selling out their building there. So hockey can work, provided you got a great product on the ice. The first incarnation of the Flames, the Atlanta Flames, they didn't have a good product. It didn't work. Thrashers, despite having some star power, they were never, ever going to get anybody to buy tickets. Even the Atlanta Hawks struggle in that market, too. The Atlanta Braves, they played great baseball for years and all those division championships, but now you watch a Atlanta Braves game on Peachtree TV. Nobody's going to that, too. So sports as a whole, it's not a passionate, crazy sports town, Atlanta. And if any city deserves to lose a team, it's Atlanta.
Miles?
Fair enough. Yeah, Atlanta's got a lot going on around it. You're 100% right. Georgia's a busy college area, and I think that's a big part of this too. At the end of the day, they got an owner who wants to unload a product, and nobody wants to take it down there. It's not like this is brand new. They've been trying to unload this team for 3 to 4 years. Like, let's face that reality too. No one stepped up to the plate, so you know what? They're going to sell it out. I don't think the league is overly excited about the fact that it looks like Winnipeg's the only people who can put their hands up and, as a relocation fact, and that's going to be an interesting step to see how the players actually react to coming here. I mean, there's some value to being a hockey player in Atlanta because nobody knows who you are. So, and there's value to that. And, coming here, it depends on who the guy is and how they've raised their kids and all that stuff. But it'll be interesting.
Gord, do you think that the city can sustain an NHL team?
Winnipeg? Yeah, I do think Winnipeg can sustain. We have to be realistic about this. People say, will the team make money? Will they not make money? Well, the fact is, I think 2/3 of the teams in that league do not make money. I wouldn't bet my life the team would make money in Winnipeg, but I would bet my life they would lose a lot less money in Winnipeg than they would in Phoenix or Atlanta. And if you're a business person and you're interested in owning a hockey team, I think that has to be paramount in your mind. It'd be $85 a ticket. You'd have to sell, if you sold 15,000, average 15,000 tickets a night, you'd be in the top third of attendance. I don't think we'd quite get there, but I think at the end of the day, Winnipeg would be in the top half of the healthiest financial teams in the league. Our market's not as big, but doubtless the hockey market is here, and I think Winnipeg would do a better job than most of those, well, pretty much all of those American southern cities.
Well, to build on the councillor's point, the great people that manage the MTS Centre and True North, they do a great job in bringing in concerts and things that Winnipeg Arena and Winnipeg Enterprises in the past never did. So there's a fallback. They built the big Mooseplex, or what is that called?
Yeah, the Mooseplex.
The Mooseplex. I mean, and they can generate revenue and other streams that before, you know, Winnipeg in the past, the Jets, the fans weren't screaming there. I mean, the highest attendance year was 13 and change, 13.6, I think, and 85, 86. You know, and there's, like I said, there's those games in February against Hartford, and there was nobody in the building. And it wasn't like the NHL snatched this team because there were stark raving fans. There was a problem with the building. There was a uncommitted ownership, and the city really, you know, really stranglehold them at the time with Winnipeg Enterprise.
There was a problem with the way the players were paid, most importantly.
Absolutely. And,
Well, the 65-cent dollar didn't help.
Yeah,
and that was probably the biggest part.
Different time.
Yeah, different
exactly.
time. I mean, they got the costs under control in terms of salary cap, whether or not, you know, I still think that the Philadelphias, the New Yorks, the teams that can generate a lot of revenue, you know, Montreal's will always have a more advantage in that, because, you know, there's other ways to get around salary caps and things like that. But the solid ownership and the solid management of the building would go a long way to the successful the NHL's return.
I see the biggest issue, too, long term at least, is, you know what, we're going to have a fantastic first 3 years. Right?
Well, it's novelty.
Well, yeah, there's novelty to it, and you know what? It's exciting. It's the biggest thing that's happening to this city. But let's remember, we've also got the Blue Bombers who are building a new stadium. There's a lot going on in this town right now, and it's exciting. It's really, as a Winnipeg sports fan, it's a great place to be right now. And if this happens, it's going to be fantastic. But you know, the city's invested a lot with the Bombers, and you know, and again, hopefully that'll come good. And you know, that's what I want to see. I want to see a vibrant sports facility in the south end of town, a vibrant downtown built back with an NHL hockey team, and we're on the right track. So let's support this. Year 4, that's when I start to worry, because that's, if we don't put a team that makes playoffs on the ice and we don't have a team that's competing with those programs, you know, we're not always going to be there, and that's my biggest concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just, again, remember the proportionality in this. I told you, Phoenix, December game, a great team, 4th place, 6,000 people in the stands on a Saturday night. That is never going to happen in Winnipeg. It doesn't matter what year you go out to. But not every game is going to be sold out. And I think we have to remember, too, as Dave said, the Winnipeg Jets, we love them. But my goodness, they had quite a record of futility in terms of their record in Winnipeg.
Really?
Yeah, one playoff series win, I think, in 17 years. Is that possible for a sports franchise? I mean, and people were pretty supportive, I think, over the course of that time. 4 years out, God willing, the hockey team is better than that. And I think in Winnipeg, that will make a difference. I'm actually not sure a winning or losing team makes a difference in Phoenix, to be honest with you. Make a huge difference here.
I go back to this, like you mentioned the Moose. I mean, it's good bang for your buck for a family. Do you honestly think a family of 4 is going to shell out $85 game after game after game? You mentioned concerts, but that's once in a while. You know, whether you go see Elton John and shell that out once every 2 years. But
$85 average. So
right.
There's $200 tickets. There'll be $150 tickets in the mix. And yeah, you'll get to that 85 average with $2,030 tickets in the level 300.
Correct, yeah.
So you want to sit good, you're talking 4 tickets at $150, plus a few more shekels for parking, popcorn. Dad's going to have a couple of beers. Kids want some popcorn. So you're talking maybe a $500, $600 night.
But make no mistake, if the NHL comes back here, this is not the NHL of 1980s, and people have to respect that and understand that. There will not be, you won't be taking your 3 kids to the game every night unless you're Bill Gates or something. This is the show.
Won't be getting $4 tickets at Perth.
It is different, and I think there's enough ancillary benefit to the economic development, as Miles was saying, that it needs to be supported for what it is, top flight hockey.
Well, who would you rather see if you had a choice, Coyotes or the Thrashers on the ice?
Thrashers for sure for me, mainly, and not because of the team's any better or any worse. It's just it's a new start. The Coyotes have gone. They're not our franchise anymore. They've made the choice. They've left.
Right.
The nostalgia, bringing the Jets back. I get all that. I don't think the team's going to be named the Jets. So that was my opinion.
That's been brought up recently.
Right. I'm not concerned about that either. I want a new start with a thriving Winnipeg, which is what we're living in, and that to me is exciting. That's what I want to see.
Dave, what would you do if you had a choice?
In terms of franchise,
I think he's wearing it.
Yeah, but I think Atlanta.
No, I know that.
You're not going to see Phoenix rising from the ashes.
No, of course not. But if we had a choice of one of the two,
Atlanta. I think there's some excitement in Atlanta. It's a young squad. I think it'd be a great team.
Gord?
No, Phoenix, the Coyotes. I think they're a better hockey team.
Well, absolutely, that's today. We're talking about a long term.
Well, I think the Coyotes actually have a pretty decent infrastructure. That's a good hockey team, and I think it's very important that the team get off to a decent start. Atlanta, I was looking at their roster yesterday on the internet. They have a lot of fellas you don't recognize all that much.
Past Bufflin and Kane.
Yeah, they're
that's Evander Kane.
They're pretty skinny on their lineup. I think the Coyotes would be a better team, be better more quickly in this city. I think that's paramount for me.
Why don't we have the NHL team? What is the block? What is why don't we have it here in Winnipeg? What is the main stumbling block? What is going on?
In the 90s. Nobody wanted to build a rink. Nobody wanted to put any private money into it. Nobody really wanted to own the team, and it was mismanaged at that time. And and people criticize Gary Bettman for working so hard to keep the Coyotes in Phoenix. He worked hard to make sure the right deal was made at the time. I mean, there was people that wanted to buy the Winnipeg Jets in the 90s for a bargain basement price.
Yeah, which made no sense.
Right, which made no sense.
Right.
So Bettman was in there right to the end, and they did try to work hard, but at the time, nobody in Winnipeg had the foresight. Look at what Chipmans have done by building a rink just to house the American Hockey League Manitoba Moose.
And you want Jim Thompson in the fold. Bottom line is you have the wealthiest man in Canada, one of the wealthiest in the world, wanting to get his
the team is unlikely to make money in the first years. It's pretty hard to imagine how it would. The biggest difference, though, and just to add on to Dave's comment, is we couldn't afford to put a winning hockey team on the ice in the 1990s. It was getting out of hand. We were losing all of our good players, or on the verge of losing all our good players, because they were getting massive contracts. New kids coming in were getting inordinately highly paid. We just couldn't keep step with the big teams in the league. I think that's changed now, though, for the better, where smaller markets can compete to some degree.
Well, Edmonton went to a Stanley Cup, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Edmonton.
Well, the economy is still, not doing fantastically, and I keep going back to the ticket prices and sustaining the team financially. But you had a good point. You won't lose as much.
Well, and I go to the point too that at the end of the day, I can take my 2 daughters, my wife, and we can go to a Moose game for, call it $150.
Right.
Right? Is that going to be $600? I would pay that $600 10 times over. And you know what? Hopefully there are families out there that would do exactly the same thing. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather spend my money on that and support a top flight hockey program.
All right.
And I love the Manitoba Moose, and I'm proud of Chipman for what he's done with that team.
Well, it is great
but
entertainment.
I still want to get to the next level.
Bottom line, do you think in your hearts that we are going to get an NHL team? Do you think it will happen?
I do.
Okay.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
All right, we're all going to a game together. That's all
There you go.
Anyways, I'd like to thank our guests for joining us for the Hockey Talk right here on Winnipeg Direct on Shaw. I'm your host, John Youngberg, and would love to hear some ideas you might have for an upcoming show. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Just look for Winnipeg Direct. Thanks again. We'll see you next Sunday right here on Shaw.
Catering for Winnipeg Direct is brought to you by Peaks Restaurant and Catering, located at 106 Skerfield Boulevard. For more information, call 925-FOOD or visit their website, peakscatering.com.
Clothing for Winnipeg Direct is provided by Uomo Menswear. Visit us at 610 Corridon Avenue or call us at 475-7244.